The laptop screen glowed in our kitchen like a confession booth, waiting for its next sinner. Mara had left it open again. Third time this month. Usually I just close it and move on with my morning routine. Coffee, toast, check the weather, head to the office. But something about the bright blue notification bubble caught my eye. 37 unread messages in something called Oleander Lane Ladies. I glanced toward the stairs. Mara was still in the shower, singing that Taylor Swift song she'd been obsessed with lately. The girls had already caught their bus, just me and whatever digital drama was unfolding on my wife's screen. My name is Ethan Parrish, and I've spent the last 15 years thinking I knew everything about my life. I run the commercial division of Parrish Electric, the family business my grandfather started in 1952. We wire office buildings, shopping centers, industrial complexes. Anything that needs more juice than your average house outlet can handle. It's honest work, pays well, and keeps me busy enough that I don't usually have time to snoop through my wife's computer. But 37 messages? That seemed excessive for a Tuesday morning. I clicked on the chat window. The first message hit me like touching a live wire, without proper protection. It was from someone named Talia_M. Ladies, I swear my husband thinks foreplay is asking if I'm awake. Meanwhile, Cole had me seeing stars in his car yesterday after our training session. Thank God for tinted windows. My coffee mug stopped halfway to my lips. Cole, that was the personal trainer from the gym where half the neighborhood wives spent their mornings. The guy with the perfect teeth and the sleeveless shirts who always seemed to have his hands on someone's lower back, correcting their form. I scrolled up, my electrical engineer brain automatically cataloging information like I was troubleshooting a faulty circuit. The chat had been active for months. Hundreds of messages between 5 women. Talia_M, Brielle_T, Nola_V, Ashley_K, and my wife Mara_S. Brielle_T had written, Ethan Parrish is such a Boy Scout. Mara says he still asks permission before touching her shoulder. Meanwhile, she's been getting plenty of attention from someone who actually knows what he's doing. The shower was still running upstairs. Mara's voice echoed off the bathroom tiles, completely oblivious to the fact that her secret life was spread across our kitchen table like blueprints for a building I'd never seen before. I kept reading. The messages painted a picture of our neighborhood that would make a soap opera writer jealous. Affairs, lies, financial schemes, and enough backstabbing to stock a cutlery store. But what made my hands shake wasn't just the betrayal, it was the casual cruelty of it all. Ashley_K. My husband brought me flowers yesterday. Store-bought roses from the grocery store. I wanted to laugh. Compare that to what Marcus did to me in his office last week. Nola_V. At least your husband tries. Mine just grunts and rolls over. Thank goodness for Julian's business trips. Gives me time to remember what passion feels like. And then, the message that made me set my coffee down before I dropped it. Mara_S. You ladies don't know how good you have it. Ethan is so predictable, so safe, so boring. He thinks romance is fixing the garbage disposal without being asked. Meanwhile, his own brother knows exactly how to make a woman feel alive. John doesn't ask permission for anything. John. My brother John. The shower shut off upstairs. I heard Mara's feet on the bathroom tiles, the sound of the hairdryer starting up. I had maybe 10 minutes before she came down for breakfast. I scrolled faster, my army training kicking in. During my 8 years in psychological operations, I'd learned to process intelligence quickly and identify actionable information. This was intelligence, all right. Just not the kind I'd expected to gather over my morning coffee. The affairs were bad enough. Talia was sleeping with Cole the trainer. Brielle was having an ongoing thing with Marcus Webb, some lawyer from downtown. Nola was involved with someone named David, apparently a police officer. Ashley was seeing Julian Kepler, who I recognized as an accountant who lived 3 streets over. But the financial information was what really caught my attention. These women weren't just cheating. They were planning. Brielle_T, I've been moving money into the account Marcus set up. Small amounts, nothing Tom would notice. By Christmas, I'll have enough to disappear if I need to. Nola_V, the HOA fund has been so useful. Who's going to audit a neighborhood association? I've borrowed almost $15,000. I'll pay it back before anyone notices. Ashley_K. Ladies, remember, document everything. Every time he raises his voice, every time he forgets an anniversary, every time he makes you feel small, family court judges eat that stuff up. And then, the message that made everything clear. Mara_S. Phase 2 starts next month. John's been working on the business angle. Once we have control of Parish Electric, Ethan won't have any leverage. He'll sign whatever we put in front of him. The hairdryer stopped. I heard Mara's footsteps moving toward the bedroom. I grabbed my phone and started taking pictures of the screen. My hands were steady, muscle memory from years of documenting electrical systems and army operations. Click, scroll, click, scroll. I captured everything. The affairs, the financial schemes, the timeline of their plans, the casual mockery of their husbands. But it was the messages about John that burned the deepest. My brother, my business partner, the guy who'd been my best man at my wedding. The messages between him and Mara went back months. Detailed descriptions of their meetings, their plans, their complete disregard for our family. Mara_S. Ethan trusts everyone. He still thinks people are basically good. It's going to make this so much easier. John_P. The commercial contracts are all in his name, but I've been building relationships with the clients. When we make our move, they'll follow me, not him. Mara_S. What about Ruth? Your mother won't just let you take over the company. John_P. Mom's old school. She'll side with family unity over everything else. Once Ethan's out of the picture, she'll accept the new reality. I heard Mara's feet on the stairs. I quickly closed the laptop and moved to the sink, rinsing my coffee mug like I'd been doing normal husband things instead of discovering that my entire life was a carefully constructed lie. Morning, honey, Mara said as she entered the kitchen. She was wearing her yoga outfit, the expensive kind that cost more than most people's monthly electric bills. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She looked like the kind of woman who belonged in a magazine spread about successful suburban living. Morning, I managed. Sleep well? Like a baby. She kissed my cheek, the same casual peck she'd given me every morning for the past 3 years. I've got that charity committee meeting this morning, then lunch with the girls. Don't wait up if I'm late. You know how these things go. I knew exactly how these things went now. The charity committee was probably cover for meeting John. Lunch with the girls was likely planning their next move against their unsuspecting husbands. Sounds good, I said. I'll be at the office most of the day. Big project meeting with the Meridian Complex people. Mara's eyes sharpened slightly. The Meridian Complex was our biggest contract this year, a $20 million office development that would set Parish Electric up for the next decade. According to the messages I'd just read, John had been working to position himself as the primary contact for that account. That's nice, honey. I hope it goes well. She grabbed her purse and headed for the garage. Love you. Love you too, I said automatically. The garage door rumbled open, then closed. I waited until I heard her car pull out of the driveway before opening the laptop again. I had work to do. The chat was still active. A new message from Talia_M. Emergency coffee date. Cole just texted that his wife is getting suspicious. We need to talk damage control. Ashley_K responded immediately. Starbucks on 5th in 20 minutes. This is exactly why we need to accelerate the timeline. I stared at the screen, my mind racing through possibilities. These women had spent months planning to destroy their marriages on their own terms, positioning themselves to take everything, while their husbands scrambled to figure out what hit them. They'd turned infidelity into a business plan, but they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd underestimated the guy who'd spent 8 years in Army psychological operations, who'd learned to turn enemy communications against themselves, who'd built a career in understanding how complex systems could be rewired to produce entirely different results. I opened a new browser window and created an email account. areaventon2024@gmail.com. Area Venton, a name that sounded like it belonged in their social circle. Then I created a Facebook profile, a LinkedIn account, and an Instagram page. Divorced, recently moved to the area, looking to start fresh. The kind of woman who would fit right into their group. The kind of woman they'd want to protect and advise. The kind of woman they'd trust with their secrets. By the time I left for work, Aria Venton had a complete digital identity and a compelling backstory. Recently divorced from a cheating husband, relocated to our area for a fresh start, interested in fitness, charity work, and female friendship. She was perfect, and she was about to request membership in the Oleander Lane Ladies Group chat. I spent the morning at my office pretending to review electrical schematics while actually building Aria Venton's legend. In the Army, we called it identity establishment, creating a believable backstory that would hold up under casual scrutiny. The key was layers of verifiable detail, mixed with just enough vulnerability to make the target want to help. Parish Electric occupied a converted warehouse on the industrial side of town. My grandfather had bought the building in 1963, and we'd expanded it twice over the decades. The main floor housed our equipment storage and vehicle bay. The second floor contained the offices, mine, John's, Mom's, and our administrative staff. From my window, I could see the entire operation. Trucks being loaded for job sites, electricians checking equipment, the steady rhythm of a business that had supported 3 generations of my family. John's office was directly across the hall from mine. Through his glass door, I could see him on the phone, probably talking to clients, probably my clients. His desk was covered with project folders that should have been on my desk. The Meridian Complex file was right there in the center, like a trophy. My phone buzzed. A text from Mara. Committee meeting ran long, grabbing lunch downtown. See you tonight. Downtown. Where Marcus Webb had his law office. Where John often met clients. I opened Facebook and sent a friend request to Mara from Aria's account, along with a carefully crafted message. Hi, Mara. I'm new to the neighborhood. Just moved into the rental on Maple Street. And someone at the gym mentioned you're involved in local charity work. I'm recently divorced and trying to build a new life here. Would love to connect with other women in the area. Hope that's not too forward. Then I waited. The response came within an hour. Welcome to the neighborhood. Always happy to meet new people. Are you free for coffee this week? Perfect. I accepted and suggested Thursday morning. That would give me time to prepare. But first, I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with. I spent my lunch break reading through months of chat history, building profiles of each woman like I was preparing for a military operation. Talia Morrison, 34, married to Dr. David Morrison, 2 kids, obsessed with fitness and social media. Her affair with Cole the trainer had been going on for 6 months. She was the group's unofficial leader, the one who suggested most of their schemes. Brielle Torres, 31, married to Tom Torres, who worked in middle management at the bank. 1 kid. She was embezzling from the HOA fund and having an affair with Marcus Webb, the lawyer, the most financially savvy of the group. Nola Vance, 36, married to Robert Vance, a traveling salesman. 3 kids. Her affair was with David Chen, a local police officer. She seemed to be the group's emotional center, always offering support and encouragement for their various deceptions. Ashley Kane, 29, married to Michael Kane, an IT specialist. No kids yet, but trying. Her affair was with Julian Kepler, the accountant. She was the most paranoid of the group, constantly worried about getting caught. And Mara, my wife of 16 years, mother of our 2 daughters, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone. According to the chat logs, she'd been sleeping with my brother for 8 months. They'd been planning to take over Parish Electric for at least 4 months. She was the strategic mind behind their operation. I closed the laptop and walked across the hall to John's office. Hey, brother, he said without looking up from his computer. How's the Meridian prep going? Good, I lied. Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that. The client wants to meet with both of us next week. Make sure we're presenting a unified front. John's fingers paused on his keyboard for just a moment. Sure, that makes sense. I've been building a good relationship with their facilities manager. I bet you have. I kept my voice neutral. Mind if I see the notes from your last meeting? Want to make sure I'm up to speed. Of course. He handed me a folder. We're in a really good position to expand the scope of work. Could be worth even more than we initially thought. I flipped through the folder. John had been thorough. Detailed notes, follow-up emails, timeline projections. He'd also been positioning himself as the primary contact, just like the chat logs had indicated. Every communication was structured to make the client see him as the key decision maker. This is great work, I said. Really comprehensive. John smiled. Thanks. I know how important this account is to the family. The family. Right. I spent the rest of the afternoon reviewing our company's organizational structure, financial arrangements, and legal protections. Parish Electric was set up as a family corporation, with Mom holding 60% of the shares, John and I each holding 15%, and our sister Connie holding the remaining 10%. Mom was officially the CEO, but she'd been gradually stepping back and letting John and me handle day-to-day operations. If John and Mara were planning a takeover, they'd need to either convince Mom to transfer control or find a way to force me out and consolidate their position. The business was worth enough that controlling it would set them up for life, but they'd made a crucial error in their planning. They'd assumed I would react like a typical betrayed husband, emotionally, irrationally, in ways that would make their legal case easier. They were counting on me to do something stupid that would give them leverage in divorce court and business negotiations. They didn't know about my military background and psychological operations. They didn't know that I'd spent years learning how to turn enemy communications into weapons against themselves. They thought they were dealing with Ethan the suburban husband, not Ethan the psychological warfare specialist. That evening, I sat in my home office reviewing the day's chat activity. The women had been busy. Talia_M. Crisis averted. Told Cole we need to be more careful. His wife is suspicious but doesn't have proof. Brielle_T. Marcus thinks we should accelerate the timeline. He's worried about the HOA audit that's scheduled for December. Ashley_K. I'm getting nervous. Michael asked why I've been so happy lately. What if he's catching on? Nola_V. Stay calm, ladies. We've been careful. As long as we stick to the plan, everything will work out. Mara_S. Speaking of the plan, John confirmed that the Meridian meeting is next week. Once that contract is secured, we'll have the leverage we need. John_P. Everything's on track. Ethan has no idea what's coming. By Christmas, we'll have everything we want. I screenshot every message, building a comprehensive file of evidence. But more importantly, I was beginning to understand their psychology, their fears, their pressure points. They were overconfident. They'd been successful for months without getting caught, and that success had made them careless. They were starting to take risks, communicate more openly, trust that their secret was safe. They were wrong. Thursday morning came, and I drove to Starbucks to meet Mara as Arya Venton. I'd spent hours perfecting Arya's appearance. Shoulder-length brown wig, different style of glasses, clothes that suggested someone trying to rebuild their confidence after a difficult divorce. I'd practiced her voice, her mannerisms, her story. Mara was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 coffee cups. She looked genuinely happy to help someone new to the area. For a moment, I almost felt guilty about what I was planning. Almost. Arya? She asked as I approached. Mara, thank you so much for meeting me. This means more than you know. We spent an hour talking. I told her Arya's story. Married young to a man who seemed perfect, but turned out to be controlling and unfaithful. Recently discovered he'd been cheating for years. Divorce was finalized last month. Moved here to start over, but struggling with trust issues and loneliness. Mara was sympathetic, supportive, and completely convinced. She shared her own struggles with marriage, how hard it was to maintain passion after so many years, how men could be so oblivious to their wives' needs, how important female friendship was for survival. You know, she said as we prepared to leave, I have a group of friends who get together regularly. We support each other through the challenges of marriage and motherhood. I think you'd really benefit from meeting them. That sounds wonderful, I said. I've been so isolated since the divorce. Let me add you to our group chat. We're having a get-together this weekend. Nothing fancy, just a chance to connect with other women who understand what you're going through. That evening, Aria Venton was officially welcomed into the Oleander Lane ladies group chat. The infiltration was complete. My first week as Aria Venton in the group chat was like attending a masterclass in suburban psychological warfare. These women had turned deception into an art form, and they were eager to share their techniques with someone they saw as a fellow victim of male inadequacy. The key to successful infiltration is providing value to your target while gathering intelligence. Aria needed to be useful to the group, someone who contributed insights, offered support, and gradually earned their trust. I drew on my Army experience and my years of reading people in business negotiations. Aria's first contribution came when Ashley posted about feeling guilty over her affair with Julian. Ashley_K. I know we've talked about this before, but sometimes I wonder if we're the bad guys here. Michael tries so hard, and I'm lying to him every day. Instead of jumping in immediately, I waited to see how the others responded. Talia offered reassurance about Ashley deserving happiness. Brielle reminded her about Michael's shortcomings as a husband. Nola suggested that guilt was just internalized patriarchal conditioning. Then Aria chimed in, Aria_V. Ashley, I spent 10 years feeling guilty about wanting more than my ex was willing to give. The guilt didn't make him a better husband. It just made me smaller. You're not responsible for fixing a relationship that was broken before you looked elsewhere for what you needed. The response was immediate and positive. Talia sent a heart emoji. Brielle wrote, exactly. Nola thanked Aria for the wisdom, and Mara, my wife, wrote, Aria gets it. This is why we need women who've been through the fire. Over the next 2 weeks, I established Aria as the group's emotional strategist. She offered insights about managing guilt, maintaining operational security, and planning for various contingencies. The women began asking for her advice on everything from covering affair-related expenses to handling suspicious husbands. But more importantly, Aria began learning about the fractures and tensions within the group itself. Talia was increasingly paranoid about Cole's wife. She'd started demanding more of his time and attention, pushing him to leave his wife sooner than they'd planned. The other women were getting tired of her drama. Brielle was embezzling larger amounts from the HOA fund and getting careless about covering her tracks. She'd convinced herself that Marcus would protect her if anything went wrong, but the others were worried about exposure. Nola was falling in love with David the police officer and wanted to leave her husband immediately. The group kept talking her out of it, insisting they needed to stick to the timeline, but she was getting resentful. Ashley was the weak link. Her guilt was genuine, and she was starting to crack under the pressure of maintaining her double life. She'd begun making mistakes, staying out too late, being too happy at home, leaving her phone unlocked where Michael could see it. And Mara was getting frustrated with all of them. She saw their emotional reactions as threats to the larger plan. In her mind, they were soldiers in her campaign, and soldiers who couldn't follow orders were liabilities. The tension came to a head during their weekend gathering at Talia's house. I couldn't attend as Aria, too risky, but the chat exploded with drama afterward. Talia_M. I can't believe Brielle said that about Cole. She doesn't understand what we have. Brielle_T. I said he's using you, which he obviously is. His wife found his burner phone, Talia. He threw it away and bought a new one without telling you. What does that sound like to you? Nola_V. Can we please not do this in the chat? We're supposed to support each other. Ashley_K. Maybe Brielle has a point. Maybe we're all being used. Mara_S. Ashley, don't start spiraling again. We've been through this. Ashley_K. Have we? Because I'm starting to think the only person who benefits from all this drama is you, Mara. You get John, you get the business, and the rest of us get to blow up our lives for your entertainment. The chat went quiet for 6 hours. When it resumed, it was with individual apologies and reassurances, but the damage was done. I could see the cracks forming. Ashley was right. Mara was using all of them. She'd encouraged their affairs to create a support network for her own betrayal. but she didn't actually care about their happiness. She cared about having allies and cover for her larger scheme. That's when I decided it was time for Arya to start applying pressure. I began with subtle questions designed to increase their paranoia. Had any of them noticed changes in their husband's behavior? Were they certain their operational security was solid? Had they considered what would happen if one of them got caught and decided to expose the others? Arya_V. Ladies, I hope I'm not overstepping, but my divorce taught me that men are better at playing detective than we give them credit for. My ex found evidence I thought I'd hidden perfectly. Have you all considered what your husbands could find if they really started looking? The response was immediate anxiety. Within hours, they were comparing notes about potential security breaches, reviewing their communication methods, and questioning each other's discretion. Ashley_K. Michael asked me yesterday why I've been so interested in yoga lately. I told him I was trying to get in shape. But what if he knows something? Nola_V. Robert's been asking about my schedule more often. He wanted to know exactly when my book club meetings are. Talia_M. What if Cole's wife told someone? What if there are rumors? Brielle_T. Marcus says lawyers always assume their spouses are cheating. It's an occupational hazard. Maybe other husbands think the same way. Mara tried to calm them down, but I could see she was worried too. The plan only worked if all the pieces moved together. If one of them panicked and confessed, or if their husbands started comparing notes, everything could collapse. That's when I introduced the second phase of psychological pressure. Arya_V. In my experience, the biggest risk isn't getting caught. It's trusting the wrong person. My ex's affair partner ended up being the one who told me everything. She felt guilty and decided I deserved to know the truth. Have you all considered what happens if one of your affair partners develops a conscience? This hit them like a lightning strike. They'd been so focused on hiding from their husbands that they hadn't considered the possibility that their affair partners might betray them. Talia immediately became suspicious of Cole. Brielle started questioning Marcus's commitment. Nola began wondering if David was really planning to leave his wife. Ashley convinced herself that Julian was probably cheating on his wife with multiple women. The chat became a spiral of accusations, reassurances, and mounting paranoia. They were doing my work for me. But the real breakthrough came when I started planting seeds about financial security. Arya_V. The hardest part of my divorce was discovering how much my ex had hidden from me. Bank accounts, investments, business assets. I thought we were equal partners, but I was completely shut out of our financial life. I hope you're all protecting yourselves better than I did. This triggered a conversation about their various financial preparations. Brielle bragged about her HOA embezzlement. Ashley mentioned the separate account she'd been funding. Nola talked about jewelry and cash she'd been hiding. Mara discussed her plans for Parish Electric, but it also revealed something crucial. None of them trusted each other completely. They were allies of convenience, not friends. Each woman was ultimately looking out for herself. That's when I knew exactly how to destroy them. I began feeding each woman slightly different information, attributed to private conversations with the others. Arya told Talia that Brielle had called Cole obviously gay and overcompensating. She told Brielle that Ashley had said Marcus was probably married to his work, not his wife. She told Nola that Talia had questioned whether David was really a police officer or just someone who liked to role play. And she told each of them that Mara had privately expressed concerns about their emotional stability and whether they could be trusted to stick to the plan. The paranoia escalated quickly. Private messages flew between group members. Accusations were made and denied. Trust began to erode. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything. Screenshots, timeline analysis, pattern recognition. I was building a comprehensive intelligence file that would allow me to predict their actions and manipulate their responses. But I was also preparing for the next phase of the operation. It was time to start recruiting assets among their husbands. The Meridian Complex meeting was scheduled for Thursday morning. According to the chat logs, John and Mara saw this as their moment to demonstrate John's value to the company and position him as the future leader of Parrish Electric. They'd spent weeks preparing, coordinating their strategy, planning how to marginalize me during the presentation. They had no idea I'd been preparing too. I arrived at the office early and reviewed the Meridian file one more time. John had done excellent work building the relationship, but he'd made a crucial error. He'd positioned himself as the primary contact without actually securing the technical expertise to deliver on his promises. The electrical systems for a complex that size required specialized knowledge that John simply didn't have. He was a residential electrician trying to play in the commercial league. I spent the morning reviewing the technical specifications and identifying potential problems with John's proposed approach. Then I prepared two presentations, the one John was expecting, which would make him look like the project leader, and the one I was actually going to give. The Meridian team arrived at 10. Facilities Manager Janet Rodriguez, Project Manager Tom Chen, and Chief Engineer Sarah Mitchell. John greeted them like old friends, which apparently they were. He'd been taking them to lunch, sending them tickets to baseball games, building the kind of relationships that usually translated into long-term contracts. Janet, Tom, Sarah. "I'd like you to meet my brother Ethan," John said. "He handles our commercial division." Handles. Not leads, not directs. Handles. Like I was his assistant. "Actually," I said, shaking hands with each of them, "I founded the commercial division 15 years ago. John's been helping with client relations, while I focus on the technical side." Janet raised an eyebrow. "I thought John was the lead on this project." "John's been doing excellent work building our relationship," I said. "But for a project this size, you need someone who specializes in large-scale electrical systems. John's expertise is residential, houses, small apartments, that sort of thing." I saw John's jaw tighten, but he couldn't contradict me without undermining his own credibility. The presentation went exactly as I'd planned. John stumbled through his slides, clearly expecting me to support his technical claims. Instead, I politely corrected his errors, offered more sophisticated solutions, and demonstrated the depth of knowledge required for a project like theirs. The approach John outlined would work for a smaller facility, as I explained. But you're looking at a 20-story complex with specialized requirements for data centers, emergency systems, and energy efficiency. That requires a completely different level of planning and execution. Bye.